speaking from the perspective of the role of accountants as relates to taxation, you will realize that the accountant has three-dimensional function or stakeholder that you need to manage. One is the client. As a professional accountant, for example, the client that must have engaged him or her in preparing his tax returns. Two is the professional institute that have licensed or certified the accountant to be able to qualify to do the role, to play the role of a professional accountant. And thirdly, the public that you own a responsibility to. And in doing this, is guided by principles, among many other principles, but I can summarize them into 5 basic principles of ethics that he must use to guide himself. And I'll state these 5 principles as just ethical framework in tax administration to an accountant. Number 1, the principle of integrity. Integrity. As an accountant, you are expected to be honest and to provide honest advice to your clients or your employer, whoever has engaged you to play the role of an accountant, either in a place of employment or in the place of a professional service that you render. And also in reporting, you are expected to be honest in your reporting. Another principle out of the 5 that guide accountant is objectivity. Accountant is expected to be objective, not to be influenced by personal interests or interests of other people that probably prevail over him or her in the discharge of his assignment. And the 3rd principle that accountant must keep in trying to uphold higher standard of ethics is professional competence. Professional competence simply speaks to his or her knowledge of his field in his profession, the knowledge of the law, the knowledge of regulations that he needs to comply with in the discharge of his function. And number 4 principle that the accountant needs to take note as a battle with the issue of ethics is confidentiality. Information are disclosed to him or her in the process of discharge of his function, and he has the dilemma of what volume of this information is supposed to disclose to the general public and what form of information is it to disclose in preparing this report. Where the client is involved in shady deeds, is he obligated to report such shady deeds to the public or to the government? These are all dilemmas the accountant faces in the place of work or in the course of discharge of his duty. They also have, of course, professional behavior, and this is such that will not bring disrepute to either his institute or his image as a professional accountant. So these are basic 5 principles that every accountant, whether in practice, whether in employment, whether in whatever form, is expected to uphold when it comes to issue of ethics and the dilemma in the discharge of their responsibility. Now, what are actually some of the basic challenges that accountants face in the place of tax administration? One is the temptation to engage in aggressive tax planning. Tax planning is such that the accountant is taking advantage of the loopholes in the tax laws, or let's put it that way, or various just gray areas that favor his clients or favor the person that have employed him or her to discharge his operations. And some of them occasionally lie within a very thin borderline between planning or trying to avoid taxes that you need to pay to the government. It gives an accountant a big headache. Number 2, the pressure from his client to say, please, I don't want to pay too much tax. Reduce my tax. I want to pay only to detail to you that, please, this is my operation place. I want to pay small tax. Please reduce this. And checking the record, he sees that what he or she or the client is supposed to pay is quite big. This is a dilemma to the accountant. And number 3, some of the practical practical thing that accountant face is a conflict of the confidentiality. Which information will he withhold? Which information should he disclose? Especially when it's privy to issues of illegality or fraudulent practices that his client or his employer is involved in. Should he disclose? Should he report to the whistleblower? These are challenging, practical challenges that the accountant face in the place of in the charge of his function. Now, how will he now uphold his integrity or his ethics when talking about his values that he believes in? How will the accountant uphold his value? Number one, he looks at what he should consider as this in carrying out his strategy. What he consider, what is it that he owes to the authority that is reporting to? What is duty that he owes to the authority? And what is his duty that he owes to the public, the general public? Because it is whatever taxes that these people pay, whether the company or individual, that the government have available at their disposal to provide a common good and also provide security for you and I. As we are in Nigeria today, we are currently challenged with insecurity, and the government needs money to be able to tackle this one. Then the other dilemma that he also faced is his duty to his profession, which he belongs to, be it the chartered issue of ICANN, be it that of ANAN, be it that of CITN, the chartered issue of taxation. These are all dilemmas that the accountant needs to navigate himself through. Where will he place himself? Is it to satisfy the public? Is it to satisfy the employer? Or is it to satisfy the institute? Or is it to satisfy the authority that is reporting to? So these are practical dilemmas the accountant face in the place of work. So in doing this, there's also the role of regulatory agencies that guide the accountant in trying to manage his ethical exposure. One of them, for example, in Nigeria, we have the Financial and Economic Crime Commission, which have put in place what is called Special Control Unit against money laundering, SCUMU. This one, every accountant that is in practice is required to be registered with SCUMU and be given a certificate that yes, he or she will not be involved in the issue that borders on money laundering. This is a regulatory requirement in Nigeria, for example, and this will help to help the accountant to balance the issue of ethics when it comes to, when you know that by regulation is expected to report every transaction that relates that borders on money laundering, then you know you'll be put on check automatically through that regulatory function. And perhaps there are people even watching abroad or wherever they may be. There's also the issue of base erosion and profit shifting, which they call BEPS, by OECD that are put in place. These are all that regulations that guide the accountant to put himself in check so that at least he won't have issue of ethical conflict with his practice. So in bringing this general talk to a close, I want to say here that the accountant has he plays a very significant role when it comes to ethics. One, based on his personal values and conviction that he or she has, that he has used to bring himself up. Because when we talk of ethics, talk about moral issues that border in what guides your moral, what is good or bad to you. And so the personal principle and values that that person upholds helps that person to make good decisions that will favor either his client or favor his put him in a good light before his professional body, or even be able to help the society that is also serving. So in addition to the ethical principles, he navigates through complex landscape, as I've just explained above, between where should he place himself. Is it to satisfy the professional body, or to satisfy his employer, or to satisfy the general public? These are issues that the accountant is faced with when it comes to ethical this thing. And also, he have a commitment to the ethical value that underpin the accounting profession. In whatever happens, he knows that when it's reported to his professional body, he can be sanctioned if he's found engaged in unethical practices. But most importantly, the accountant must also uphold the public trust, because whatever position that is given to you is a trust that is given to you to be able to perform and deliver on that responsibility that is given to you, be it as a paid employee of an organization or a public agency, be it as a professional accountant that's in practice. You should know that you own a public trust and you have a duty to ensure that the whatever atmosphere in which you operate is such that it supports the general, the greater good of the public. So on this point, I want to stop here. So
next question I will ask is, when we, especially in Nigeria, when we talk about tax or FIRS or IRS, everybody is talking about looking at them as unethical people because because it is perceived that there's always one thing or the other. Either they'll ask for money for you, to help you do what you want to do, or they'll just a lot of things that happen there. So I want to find out from you, as given your vision and your calling, what are you doing, or what is the present dispensation doing to correct that unethical behavior that is very rampant?
Yeah, thank you. The truth is that the Nigeria, the people that work in the Federal Revenue Service, for example, the Tax Revenue Authority, they are also a mirror of the general public out there. And what you are trying to ask about is the issue of corruption, which is a common knowledge that most people, some people actually go out of their way to demand money from the public, tax-paying public, and before they could discharge their responsibility. Others even do as much as that is putting things that are not even correct to the taxpayer and put the taxpayer in a tight corner such that you have no choice but to start begging, please help me, and the rest, it will happen. But as a person, I made it as a point of principle, and I can say without missing words or fear that for 26 years I have never asked anybody, please give me £1. Occasionally when the issues are bordered on thin or gray area, please, you must pay me so. I've never done it. But that doesn't mean that as a person I have done favor or helped one or two persons based on a human face on the tax law, and they've not come back to say, thank you, you are so wonderful, you help us, and take this to buy bread for your children. It has happened. But not as if as a demand or as a roadblock to people that you must do this before we can help you. I've never done that, because I'm
open up the floor for other people to ask.
I really have a question here. On tax avoidance.
So the person says, Mr. Alapa, since tax avoidance is not bad, is it wrong if as an accountant you can manipulate the tax laws to minimize the tax to be paid by your clients or even by yourself?
The word manipulate is what maybe choice of words. Maybe what he's trying to say is that to take optimal benefit or advantage of the tax law by guiding his client appropriately. And I'll give you an example. Before 2007, there were so many incentives in the tax laws, and some of them relate to, for example, that if you buy an asset, you can take a percentage of 10% as investment allowance, for example. These are incentives. I'm just giving that very practical. And the issue was what constitutes an asset. These are all knowledge based. So for you to be able to take advantage of the tax law or the provisions, it needs you to have deep understanding of the law itself. I'm just giving an example of that asset now. So if when that was in place, it has been repealed now. When it was in place, you could advise your client that you have bought an asset, new one. The law requires that you can take 10% of it as investment allowance. You take that one off, it reduces the tax that is available, the money that's available that you can apply the rate on, the tax that you pay at the end of the day. So it's based on your deep knowledge of the law to advise your client appropriately and take advantage of what the law has provided for you as incentive or allowances that you can use to reduce your tax payable. But if you don't have knowledge, you will now be fighting with revenue authority, and if you don't know, they will just be looking at you because it's not their duty to help you prepare your client account. That is the problem.
Thank you so much. So he's saying that tax avoidance is not illegal, but you need to know. You need to know what you need to know to do the right thing. But if you want to manipulate, it, that is wrong. It's no longer tax avoidance. That's the measure.
The law provides that when the taxpayer overpays tax, either deliberately or by mistake, in error, or whatever, and he or she discovers, he will apply for a refund. And when they check and they confirm that yes, there is an overpayment here, tax will be refunded. And I have a clear example of my friend here, his organization. I've always had a tax refund, not because of error, but by nature of their business. I think they are into construction business. And this 5% or withholding tax, what you call withholding tax, which is an advance payment of income tax, they deduct from all their contracts. And by the end of the year, when they now prepare the account, they discover what is deducted from them is higher than what their tax liability should be. They always ask for a refund, and they are into billions, not small money. The government, what government have put in place is a budgeted, appropriated amount per year from which they can pay refund. And by the time they spread it, the amount that is big, other that have small, by the time they spread it, if the money that are available in a year cannot complete all that they have, they will still carry the remaining one forward. And they have been getting their refund as they apply for such refund. That's for the first question. Number two is when you go to a tax office, yes, I agree with you, knowledge is a bit of a challenge, and not only tax officials, even the country as a whole. I'm telling you, you'll be shocked at the level of ignorance that people exhibit outside in society. I don't know, I've not done any research on it, but a greater proportion of human beings are majorly ignorant about even their environment, about society, about life. So you see that in also play out in tax office. So when you meet such people and they are trying to frustrate what you do, you must go straight to the head. Look for a way to meet the head. If that one does not answer you, escalate to the next head before you get to our level as coordinating director. Of course, when you get to our level, the person is already in trouble. If we find out that you are putting hurdles and a bottleneck for taxpayer, for people like us, it will be a big deal for the official. So they will not want to get to our level. But just what the advice, since I'm speaking to the public, the advice is that if you meet an official and is putting bottleneck for you, go straight to the next level of higher authority that oversee that official. There you must get good treatment. If not, that person does not know, does not fit to sit on that seat of that higher authority that he or she is occupying. So this advice to the public here. Thank you.
Can you share with us one of your main dilemmas and how you
Yeah, severally, as public servants, several dilemmas have confronted me as a person. and some of them even to the extent of losing what people would call benefits. Now, that's one. Then two, I think 2002 or so, I was in Broad Street area office then. I had a boss then who I was reporting to on level 12, she was level 13. And a consultant came, was a former staff of Federal Revenue Service, deputy director, has retired. He said that Oga Dick follow this man with the law to the strictest point. I said, okay, no problem. I followed the man to the strictest point, and he got to a point that the man could not even go anywhere. So he went to beg the woman and gave the woman money. The woman came to me and said, the man have come to give me money. I said, madam, was that why I said I should follow him with the law to the end? He said, no, the man is a very wicked man. This and I said, no, please, they don't do like that. So he said, he gave me money. I said, I don't use such money. I don't twist anybody because of the money that I want to get on the job. I don't do it. The woman begged. I said, I will never partake of such money. He went to report me to other my friends, everybody. I said, I don't do that. I have a personal principle that guide me. You know, if I by chance, by reason of the work, and I see that within the law, I'm not putting myself in trouble, and you are not putting you in trouble, I'm not jeopardizing government revenue, and I guide you properly, just as we're asking that if we know the person making mistake, won't you guide him and make the right? Yes, if I can guide you properly, and I do that. And at the end, you say, Dick, thank you very much for guiding me properly. Take this for your own, buy pure water or buy bread for your children. That's appreciation unto me, and I will take that. It's not for me to do things with the aim of collecting money. I say I will not take such money. It happened. And the woman today respects me for that. And that didn't kill me. And I'm still living it today. And I've grown to the peak of the career of my career.
From the foundation. They came in here and gave from their hearts. They were not paid for this. And UGM Foundation is also honored to have Dr. Dick Irri to be the spotlight accountant, and for that we present this plaque in a word of honor.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
So we charge you, the award says for upholding ethics and the public interest in the discharge of your professional duties. So we charge you to keep the candle burning. Thank you so much, sir. Okay.
Thank you so much.